Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's imagine that you're a 17-year-old employee who's told by the manager to solve the problem in any way. I don't think that the solution will be trivial and boring. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. A machine at the grocery store I work in malfunctioned. My manager decided it was my problem. The machine that takes in the bottles that have a deposit fee on them was broken. The machine couldn't scan the bottles, so the customers wouldn't get their money back. The customer told me about it, so I told my manager. He told me that I should take care of it because he was on break and the customers came to me. I told the customer that I couldn't help her and that she needed to come back some other time when it was fixed. My manager said that handling things in that way was also not acceptable. I started to get a little bit infuriated, so I decided to go back to the work I was supposed to do. Customers kept on coming to me with the same problem, so I went back to the manager, who literally told me, "You are at work, customers complain to you, it's your problem." I told my coworkers about it. They told me that it's happened to them before and that a mechanic was required to fix the problem. My manager got angry at me because I told him this. He told me that I needed to find a solution to the problem or I would get fired. I started thinking what I could do to fix it, but I couldn't figure it out since I work at a grocery store as a 17-year-old who's never fixed something like this. Then my stubborn side took over, so I decided to fix the problem my way. I took a broom and punched a hole in the seal that keeps the bottles from falling down. Then I put a big plastic bag on the other side of the machine for the bottles to fall into. My manager lost it and told me I needed to fix it in a better way right now, so I put the plastic bag in his hands and told the 12 customers that were waiting for the machine to work to give their bottles to my manager, and he'd take care of it. The manager then sent me home as he was raging and yelling at everyone. The next day I had to work again, and the mechanic was there to fix it. He told me that I made the situation with the machine worse, but that he had to laugh when he heard the story about my manager. I then heard that my manager got fired by his boss for losing his cool and that I handled the situation very well. To this day, I still wonder what the story was told to the boss, but I still have my job and the manager is long gone. And our next story. Abusive mom is ruined and wanted. It's a rough story to start, so I'll just go chronologically. The first example of how evil she was, my older brother told me. Back when I was really young, my dad was in the Army and managed to score some leave, vacation time, from Desert Storm to surprise my mom for her anniversary. When he knocked on the door, all my mom said was, "Why aren't you dead? I need the money." Her new beau then started backing out of the garage in my dad's Mustang Cobra. He got revenge, but that's another story. The divorce was pretty much what you expect. Mom got custody of me. My dad later tricked her with some money and got me for a visit, then filed for custody since my mom had warrants out for her arrest. A few years later, my dad remarried to your typical evil stepmother who doted on her daughters and hates her stepson. For example, for Easter, my stepsisters got huge baskets of candy and chocolates, a couple toys, etc. I got an old soup can with my name painted on it, poorly, that I could use for pencils. This witch managed to talk my dad into sending me back to my mom, and here the story begins in earnest. Where my mom was living was an old 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. My sisters shared one room, my mom and stepdad shared the other, my brother got the whole basement, and I got a room so small that I could touch fingertip to fingertip each wall, and it was double that long. I had a curtain instead of a door. I got nothing. I hated life there. I was one of the only few white kids at school, so I got beat up a lot for being white. It was a low-income area in Michigan, so I was the one who always had to shovel, rake, mow, and then my mom would rent me out to the neighbors, and they all just paid her. I did all the chores and was grounded until she felt like ungrounding me. I basically sat on my bed for 6 years anytime I was not in school, cleaning, or making her money. I learned this later, but my mom was extorting money from my dad. She demanded $3,000 for a school photo, and he willingly paid $700 a month in child support, even though there was no need to. He worked in the oil field business after he retired on a corporate board. She would make stuff up like, "Our car broke," etc., and demand money. My dad had to fork over $12,000 for me to go visit him for a week. He couldn't take me in at the time. He wasn't home enough, lots of travel, and he was single, but I found out he was sending me Christmas and birthday gifts every year, and I later found out from my brother she pawned them all. He bought me a brand new color Game Boy, which was promptly taken away because I was grounded. She pawned that too. He would often hit me for stupid reasons, like when I once put the dishes away a bit damp, or if I managed to get a chocolate milk from the school cafeteria. Once I got fed up and pushed her. She called the police and he chided me. In short, it was hell. Meanwhile, my sisters got upgraded to a private school and lots of amazing toys. She took custody of my grandfather who had MS from the waist down and couldn't even use the bathroom by himself. She got power of attorney and took all his money and blew it, as well as taking half his pain meds, like Vicodin, and giving them to my brother to sell. This'll be important later. Kinda. Now the revenge part. This is going to be a bit long, so I apologize in advance. In my junior year of high school, I got to working in the library. My teachers were amazing and supportive and knew my situation. I got my dad's email and we started planning. He figured once I finished high school, he would personally come up and get me. Finally, when my mom decided to have a graduation party for me, complete with inviting all her friends and none of the, 2 people I could call a friend, a couple days before my graduation ceremony, about 2 hours before the party was going to start, my dad pulls up. I invite him in, and he looks around, looks confused. He leans in and asks, "Where is she?" I point. She was right in front of him, lying on the couch. He screwed up his face and said he'd wait in the car. While I was gathering all my stuff in a single garbage bag, my mom finally realized who this stranger was and lost her crap. She tried everything from bribing me with NASCAR tickets — I hate NASCAR, she liked it, but I knew she didn't have any — to physically obstructing me. She had pulled out all the stops for this party, spending a couple $1,000s and lots of time cooking, or making me cook. I get outside, throw my stuff in the truck, and we take off. Side story, we get halfway down the street, my dad has to pull over. He laughs uncontrollably for a while. I ask what's up, and he says in his Texas accent, "Boy, when I was a kid, we always wanted to marry a movie star. I just didn't think it'd be Jabba the Hutt." Evidently, they didn't recognize each other at first. She put on a lot of weight after they divorced. We get to his place and it starts. I get updates from my sister-in-law. The party was effed. She was humiliated. Since she didn't have me, my dad stopped sending money. They had a month's worth of unpayable bills. She had to pawn her jewelry, pull my sisters out of the private school and back into public school, sell one of the cars she had. Soon she started calling for money, claiming someone stole the mail all the time so they couldn't pay their bills and needed money to replace the mailbox so they wouldn't steal it anymore. It was refreshing knowing I was free and I could say no with no repercussions. I was happy to live and let live. I vowed to leave her be and let her sink or swim by her own hand. I was elated to be free and had no desire to look back at that part of my life. But she wasn't done with me. I decided to follow my dad's example and join the service. I decided the Navy was the place for me. My job required a top secret clearance, so they do a very thorough background check to include a credit check. Turns out I was delinquent in mortgage payments, I was receiving Social Security, and I owed a power company a lot of money among other credit card debts. That bee stole my identity and ran me into debt since she couldn't get any more money. I knew about identity theft, it just never occurred to me that a parent has everything they need to do so. This couldn't stand. After I finished basic training in my technical school, I spoke to my supervisor. Chief was awesome. She managed to wrangle me a temporary assignment to a recruiting station in my old town where my mom lived, so the Navy would buy my plane tickets. I spoke to the police and filed a report. One by one, I managed to clear most of the debts from me and send all the debt collectors after her. Then I made a visit to the Social Security office. I was in uniform at the time and spoke to a clerk about how I was somehow getting payments when I never got anything. She looks up the account and boom, my mom was here. She claimed I was permanently mangled and disabled in an accident and I was physically unable to sign, giving her permission to cash my checks. The clerk read that last part out slower as it dawned on her that I was clearly more than able. She opened a case for the monolithic bureaucracy that was the government. They move pretty fast when someone's stealing money from them. Turns out when they went to investigate, she'd already skipped town. They issued warrants for her arrest and she's on the run. So this was 10 years ago. So evidently my brother found out that not only am I doing great, I'm very successful. I recently left the service and started an even more exciting job. So he told Mom, and she came crawling out of the woodwork via Facebook for money for a doctor. But I told her prison gives free medical care, and it felt good. Turns out when my aunts, her sisters who lived in another state, found out about how she treated me, she was cut out of everyone's will, to include my grandmother. Unfortunately, we didn't get to my grandfather before she cashed in on him. So heavily in debt, with no family to turn to, no way to get a job, with fraud on her record as well as selling prescription medication, and warrants out for her arrest, my mother, Jabba the Hutt, is receiving hers. I got cut a check for $20,000, the amount that was garnished from my wages for what she stole from the Social Security Administration, and now she owes that much to Uncle Sam. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.